You are now listening to the Building Her Dream podcast, where we have inspiring conversations with introverted women entrepreneurs who are building their dream lives and businesses on their own terms. Hosted by business operations strategist, author, and the founder of Building Her Dream, Shayla Burton. To learn more about this podcast and our magazine, visit www.buildingherdream.com. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm your host, Shayla Burton, and this is the Building Her Dream podcast. I'm so excited to chat with today's guest. She is the creator of a premium clean beauty brand for women of color. She's a brand strategist with over 15 years experience over multiple industries. She's the founder and CEO of the BlackTravelBox. All the way from Denver, Colorado, we have Orion Brown. Hi, Orion. How are you?
Hi, Shayla. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking.
Oh, good. I'm so glad to have you here. Now, if you've listened to this podcast before, you know that we're all about living the dream life. So, Orion, I have to ask you, if you could wake up tomorrow and have the perfect dream life, what would it look like? And are you living it or are you still working on it?
That is such a loaded question, and I've been like ruminating over it, and I think that there's a couple of elements. So no, I'm not there yet. I think that that's a part of that living process.
Yes.
I definitely hope, when I look back and I'm 90, that I'm like, okay, it was all right. It was all good. It's well with my soul. But, to wake up and sort of like the perfect dream life, I think the first step is I need to be somewhere traveling. Sorry. I need to be somewhere. It doesn't have to be exotic. It doesn't have to be, I really, really love to be in new places and try new things. So that day would consist of cooking something tasty and nourishing and wonderful, spending time with the people I love the most, having a good laugh. Many people will go, so my bank account is set like this and this, that, and the other, but all of those things are the tools that we use to get to those moments that we want. So I want good belly laughs. I want a full belly. It's all about my tummy is really what I'm saying. But that's sort of that dream space for me, to be in touch with people, to have connectivity, to have communication, to have joy, and to have a little intellectual challenge as well. Like, I don't care if it's Scrabble or a political debate, but something that really stimulates my senses from my intellectual standpoint is key as well. And I think that's a great day. And if I can end it with a glass of wine, baby, I'm good.
That sounds beautiful. So would you be working every day or just a couple of days? Like, what would that look like?
You know what? Honestly, so it's funny. I've been laid off a few times in my career from a professional standpoint, and I can't really go more than 2 weeks without having something that I'm working on. So whether it's a creative project, whether it's a work thing, it really is something that I can't sit still. So for me, I don't have that. Like, I don't think about like the Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week as the ideal for me, because even if I'm only working 4 hours, I'm working on something, and so it really is more about having that intellectual challenge, having some creativity sparked in it, and whether you think of it as a job, a side hustle, a craft project, a spontaneous thing, I'm going to be doing something.
Okay. That makes sense. All right. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur? How did that start?
Oh my gosh. Well, number one, I like to tell people and be real transparent. You are not going to hear from me that I was like selling at a lemonade stand when I was 5. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, so I don't think I ever saw any lemonade stands. But not only that, like, I was just, that was just never my thing. I was very comfortable with allowing the store to create the thing and sell it to me. And within the corporate environment, I loved having that frivolous insurance. It's like, what's legal insurance for? I don't know. We got it though.
Right.
So for me, that transition was sort of a twofold process. One, I had discovered this market need, and we can talk a little bit more about that, but I discovered this market need and was like, this would be a really fun thing for me to work on because it had been a little while since I had had my hands in a physical good. My background
Right.
was in CPG and brand management. And when you do that, you have some product on a shelf somewhere that you created or helped to bring to life. And so I had missed that piece. And I think the second piece to that was I had gotten into an environment that was, I mean, Black women in corporate America, we have these really interesting moments. And I had gotten
Yeah.
to a place that I was like, I don't think I want you to pay me for what you're taking,
Mm,
right? So you're
okay.
not taking my, my strategic capacity and my ability to collaborate and build teams. You're taking parts of me that I don't want to sell. And so
Mm,
those two things coming together really was that impetus for I'm stepping out of corporate and I'm creating something new. Um,
mhm.
and with that, I've moved forward and I've, full transparency. I've done a lot of consulting. I've gone back to work in a consulting capacity, but really changing that mindset around corporate as the construct for how that process and how my career moves forward
Mhm.
really freed me up to have an entrepreneurial and even entrepreneurial mindset no matter what environment I'm in.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, what is the Black Travel Box?
Yes, so BlackTravelBox is a personal care products company, particularly a brand, focused on travelers of color. And so it's a $109.6 billion Black leisure, just leisure travel industry. We are spending and traveling the world far more than any other generation, and it's
Mhm.
only growing. And so our products are really made to enhance that. Everything that we make is in forms and formats that travels well, gets you through TSA, and it's actually formulated to be inclusive. So it's made for a wider variety of hair textures and skin tones than the
Mm,
stuff that you might find even at your nicest hotels.
right. Okay. And so what made you come up with this idea? Why did you think that this product was needed?
I mean, I spent umpteen years in corporate. I started when I was 5. Um, and I accumulated like vacation was you talk about the comp package. That vacation piece was important to me. I would take my
Yes.
vacation. It was a great way to step away from the stresses of corporate life and all of those types of experiences. But it was also something I just really looked forward to and is a big part of my self-care routine. And I had noticed that over the years, I'm going to all these different places and doing these things, and I'm not showing up in my photos. And I'm like, why am I not
Mm,
in my photo? You know what? That trip, I had my head in a bun. I looked like a pineapple on that trip. I wasn't, there were these things that were a part of my beauty routine that were really kind of holding me back. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back was a trip to Japan where I had big old curls. I had a lot more hair, big old curls, had done my wash and go. I knew I had a 10-day trip and I was like, here's the plan. That first day, the curls are tight. You let them drop a little bit. By day 2, by day 3, maybe you're flipping it. By day 4, you putting that in a pineapple. By day 5, that
mhm.
is ready for a dirty bun and you wash and start over again. So I had exactly the amount of product that I needed. However, 2 days into the trip, we decided to go from Tokyo, which is mild, like DC in the springtime type weather, to Okinawa, which is 45-minute flight,
Mhm.
armpit of Atlanta hot.
Oh,
Like
wow.
they opened the door of the airplane and immediately my skin is sweaty, my scalp is sweaty, my hair didn't even make it to getting off the plane. It was like, it's a
Mhm.
wrap. And I'm looking at this little bottle of conditioner and going, what do I do? And the thing that I thought was interesting, I was like, okay, I kind of get it. I'm in Japan. It's a very different ethnic, you know, layout of this place. So I know it's going to be a challenge. There's language barriers, all of that. But then there's tons and tons of army bases. And
Mm,
people of color are disproportionately represented in our armed forces. So I'm like, they got me. It's fine. It'll be like Walmart. It was not. And
mm,
PERT plus 3-in-1 wasn't going to get it done. And the products that were on the shelf that I did see in our quote unquote ethnic aisle were the same products that, 2, 3 years earlier we had seen through studies are the ones that carry carcinogens and all kinds of things, hormone disruptors, just not clean, not healthy, and frankly, not that effective. So that was really
mm.
the impetus for me. So I'm sitting there complaining over sake, feeling salty with my frizz fro being like, this has got to stop. Something's got to happen. We've got to do something. This should exist in the world. And that really was the impetus for me to even, start the journey.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that definitely resonated with me. I remember when I took my first vacation to a warmer weather. I think it was the Dominican Republic. I got on the plane with my hair in twists because I
Mhm.
said, okay, I'm going to get on the plane, take my twist down. So when we land, I'm going to be looking so cute. And when I got to the hotel and looked in the mirror, my hair was a lot different than
Mm,
what it looks like on the plane. And I'm like, oh, so that's why women get braids before they go on
yeah,
vacation. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And the crazy thing about that is, and we love us some braids. It's a pre-Crown Act. We couldn't wear them at work. So vacation was the
Hmm.
time to like really be able to express yourself with your hair, at least from a corporate, environment
Right.
perspective. And so there's that piece. But I think the other thing that was really eye-opening to me is when I started to interview people and talk to them about their experiences with travel, they would be like, yeah, I have my hair in braids. And, besides the traction alopecia, it's like my
Hmm.
scalp is itching all the time. I've got this, I've got that. Oh
Mm.
no, I'm not washing it. And I'm like, so
Yeah.
you in salt water swimming with the fishies, and we do swim. Don't let nobody tell you any different.
Right.
You're in the salt water swimming with the fishies. You're in India in like, curry, smoky, and you're not taking care of the largest organ in your body, which is your skin, and your scalp is
Yeah.
hyper absorbent. But it's because we're like, well, I'm afraid that if I use the products, it's going to just ruin the whole situation. And so that's
Right.
another thing. I'm like, you're a human with skin and hair. You should be able to cleanse it and take care of it and feel and look your best wherever you go.
Hmm. Hmm. That's awesome. So I'm super excited about your brand because, when I travel, I do like to look better than what I do normally. And so I
Give it a little
buy,
extra.
a little extra. So I buy all new clothes. And
Hmm.
now I have a place where I can buy some new beauty products and they fit in my carry-on. I can get them through TSA. So that's super exciting.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the amount of money that people are spending on check bags. It used to be an extra check bag was maybe 35, 45,
Mhm.
65. Now it's like $100 minimum unless you have certain kind of status or things like that. It's so expensive to check a bag. And
Yeah.
catching a case at TSA because they're like, this seems dangerous. And it's not,
Right.
there's nothing dangerous. It's
Right.
butter. It's body butter. Stop, y'all. Just stop. And the amount of money
Exactly.
that's spent with bringing stuff, getting it confiscated, buying a new one when you get there, then having to throw that out because it's going to get confiscated on the way back. It's just too much.
It is. It is. So if I wanted to try out one of your products, what should I get first? Like, what would you recommend me buying first?
So I created a bundle called a starter kit. And
Okay.
basically that came from just customer feedback because folks were like, I don't know where to start. I want to try everything. I'm not sure what's what. Our
Hmm.
starter kit has basically our core products. These are the products that we launched with. Our shampoo and conditioner bars. So our shampoo, it's like sulfate free, very gentle, rosemary mint, natural tea tree oil. Our conditioner bar, really emollient,
Mm.
great for thicker textures and curly coily hair. Our body balm, which is butter baby, it's so good. We have a basic hair balm. So again, making sure if you're going to cleanse your scalp, you're going to also moisturize it and nourish it. Same thing is great for locks and braids, that kind of thing. And it also
Hmm.
seals a good wash and go. So you do your wash and go, seal the hair, and you get that nice sheen to it. And our lip balm, because I can't have us out here looking crusty. We can't do that.
Yes.
So it's a very basic kit, and we're just getting started. We have a product pipeline that's going to be building out and a lot more things coming, but just starting and nailing this down. It's the best way to get to know the brand, see what you like, and then you can buy larger sizes or longer lasting sizes, I like to call them, because people are like, oh, it's all travel size. Well, travel size varies based off of what the thing is, if it's solid or if it's liquid, and
Mm.
how it's packaged. So we have a few different sizes that are really meant to either be, in your carry-on or in your check bag. and really just based off of your travel lifestyle.
Okay, sounds good. I'll definitely check that out. Now, how long have you been in business?
Okay, so I started, this is always like a fun one because I like to Benjamin Button my way through stuff. So that trip that
Okay.
I took to Japan was in May of 2017.
Okay.
And I complained at brunch with my friends for 6 months. And then I was like, okay, either piss or get off the pot. So I sat down, I registered the business that August.
Mm,
Fast forward to a year and a half later, that's when we sold our first like jar of body balm. So in
okay.
that time, that was doing all of the consumer insights work, interviewing my poor friends every time they would come into town, and I'd be like, "Oh, let's get lunch." Interviews. So what's in your bag? So what did you bring? So what was frustrating? All of that stuff, as well as doing some fundraising and a bunch of other things. So our first product really sold in 2019, and that was still very much soft launch and testing what we have. And
Mm-hmm.
so now technically we're at our 5-year anniversary. We've been around for a little while.
Okay. Okay. So 5 years. Um, so I would say since you've been in business for 5 years, it sounds pretty successful. How do you balance running a thriving business with other aspects of your life, like your family and your self-care?
So you want the really? I'm just kidding.
I want
There are
the real
times
answer.
there are times that it just doesn't happen. And, one of the things that has been an interesting lesson, because I'm still a solopreneur, I have
Okay.
contractors that I work with, which is great because it's a great way to get talent without having a ton of overhead. But it's also a challenge because people are freelancers. So they float in, they float out. Sometimes they stay. I
Yeah.
appreciate y'all that stayed. Um, but with that, having that sort of solopreneur ecosystem, what I'm looking at is what is successful. So
Mm,
it really is predicated on where my attention is at any given time. And so, recently I have a parent that's ill. I'm like, time out. It just is what it is. I'm gonna have to eat it this month because this is where I want to be. And so I think finding the balance is really less about how do I divvy up my time in such a way that everything gets 100% of me, because that is way more than what any person can do, right?
yes.
I do believe in trying to being as present as possible, and that does require in that time that you've got me that I'm 100% present here with you.
Hmm.
But I also believe that a big part of that is being really clear and realistic about what what your goals are and what success looks like. So
Okay.
success doesn't necessarily look like that's going to be that $1 million day while this is going on. That's not going to happen. Success
Hmm.
for me is that I get to be in the place that I need to be, that I can add the most value, and that I can feel good about when I go to sleep at night. And
Yes.
so, there's external factors where people are like, well, let's see how your last 3 months went. Well, month 1 and 2 were great. Month 3, ooh, and this is what
Right.
happened. I'm cool with that. You not cool with that? Yeah. Okay. So really understanding what's important to you and being really clear about that and how you want to use your time, being able to go to sleep at night knowing that you did what feels good to your soul to have been doing,
Mhm.
and then being really comfortable with the output there. I think that's what the balance looks like.
Yes, yes. I definitely agree with that. Everybody has their idea of what success looks like to them. So yeah, just being clear on that. Hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So then do you get to go on vacations, or at least do you take significant time away from your business where you don't have to bring the laptop with you?
You know what? So like I said, idle hands aren't really great for me. But that being said, I mean, it's just how my brain is wired. I'll find something
Yeah.
else to do if I'm not doing that. And then the little guilt loop will come in and be like, well, why are you doing this when you should be working on this thing? That's the big thing. So that's
Hmm.
always a constant balance and a challenge for me. But yes, I do take time. And sometimes I have to be sneaky about it. So my last trip was to Antarctica,
Oh,
once in a lifetime trip.
yeah.
One of the best things about that for me was that I could not get on Wi-Fi if I tried.
Oh,
I could not. I mean, they had it, but it was
It wasn't
spotty. It
good.
wasn't great.
Okay.
So it was literally once you get past the tip of Argentina, it's like, baby, you gone, you out, you vacated, you are fully
Interesting.
vacated. So have several seats and enjoy the ride. And so I like to, and that was even a thing that I did in the corporate space. I would try to go to far flung places and really just like turn off the GPS, turn off the
Hmm.
Wi-Fi, and focus on the space that I'm in. So I do that. It's not easy. It's not something that you can necessarily do all the time and be gone for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. But
Yeah.
it's also very, very much doable, and it's also a mindset set shift because
Hmm.
any given week I could come down with the flu and just be out for the count.
Exactly.
So I'd rather be on vacation and not be sick and be out in that
Right.
way. So I try to keep that kind of, again, it's a mental and sort of emotional balance within myself of what am I okay with, and learning
Hmm.
to be okay with the things that I need so that I can get back in touch with myself and so that I can have the self-care that I need so I come back and be badass next time.
Hmm.
So
Exactly. I love that. I love that. What has been your favorite like travel spot so far?
that's such a hard question. Okay. No, so one, I just really love places and I love places for different reasons. South Africa is top of list.
Mm,
Um, the beautiful views, the history, the amazing people, the wine country, y'all, the wine
mm.
country, the wine country. Can we just say, can we have a moment of silence for the wine country? It's just beautiful. And the
Wow.
food is wonderful. And it was an experience. I went back in 2010 and I was basically like, maybe I need to get a visa and come work here. Like
Hmm.
that's how excited I was. Ireland's another place. It's gorgeous. Food, not so great. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
It's a little British. It's a little beans and toast.
Mm, okay.
The people are phenomenal, and the beer is good. I'm sorry, it's
Mm.
all the alcohol, but it is true. The beer is very good. And I will say, like their stews and soda breads are really good. But it's absolutely gorgeous and magical. And there's castles everywhere. You driving on the highway and there's a castle. And
Oh,
and
wow.
unlike the States, they're not trying to monetize everything. So
Yeah.
you don't need a ticket. You just walk in, you just park your car somewhere and walk around and look at it and enjoy the space. I think it's really immersive. And I would say for a country that doesn't look like me, right? Like going to the
Yeah.
continent kind of makes sense sometimes, although I'm pretty bright for the continent too, so it's kind of weird. But um, going into Ireland, the friendliness of the people,
Mm.
I could just be me. I could just
Yeah.
be me who I am on the inside, enjoying a space, which
Right.
was a very, very welcome thing given a lot of the climate that we have here.
Gotcha. Okay. I love that. I've never been to anywhere in Africa, so that's definitely on my bucket list.
Africa, so here's the thing. I think one, and I don't want to get on my like soapbox about it, but we've all been indoctrinated with these maps that have Africa as this like kind of floating thing. It's over here. We know it's big, but it's massive. It is a
Yeah.
massive continent. Any place that you have traveled in the US or abroad, you can find its equivalent on the continent of Africa. Like
Okay.
the Diani Coast, which is off the coast of Kenya, is Caribbean waters. It's
Mm.
Mai Tais at the pool. It's beautiful sunsets. It's restaurants under the star. I had dinner in a grotto in like a cave under the moon. Like, come on
Oh,
now. They got everything. They've got
wow.
everything.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I would love to ask you more about your travels, but we'll save that for another time. When it comes to like entrepreneurship, we know that having, ups and downs are really a part of the process. What challenges have you had to overcome while running your business?
All the same challenges that I had in corporate, and the biggest
Oh,
challenge was not expecting it. That was
okay.
the biggest challenge, right? It's like, oh, you're your own boss. You make it like you're out here. It's a meritocracy. You just get stuff done based off of what you've accomplished. Of course.
Mm,
Nah, son, it's still the same socio-political environment that we have in corporate settings. And really the currency becomes something of how much you're willing to balance and tolerate. And I don't mean to say that it's negative to be an entrepreneur, but
Sure.
there is a very real thing to be a Black woman in America that is highly educated. We're more educated than everybody. We're out here starting businesses more than everybody, 400% growth in, was it 2020 or 2021? We're doing things that are really already inherently hard at a disadvantage of stepping into rooms and people discounting us. And so with that, that was the huge thing for me, because one, I didn't see it coming. I honestly didn't. I was like, smallest business I ever ran was a $30 million business. I've been doing this in corporate for years. Like, clearly I understand how to size a marketplace and all of those things. And you come into a room and you say, this market is massive and here's the assessment of it. And they're like, but they Black. I don't know. It seems like it's really small. It seems like that's really racist. It's, all kinds of things. I don't think do you really need different hair care products? Do you really travel? And you come in with the data and you go, these are all reasonable questions in the sense that, what do you want to know about the customer, and is the behavior there, and, is the need really, but the disbelief doesn't come from being presented with the data. The disbelief comes from being presented with me and bringing my customer along.
Yeah.
And so that was, I think, the biggest challenge, and that impacts your ability to get partners. Manufacturers told me they won't make things for Afro kinky hair. And I was like, but hair is just hair. Hair is protein, keratin, and water. What do you mean? Like, you won't?
Right.
It's like pasta. Y'all, I know some people like fusilli and other people like spaghetti. It's the same stuff in a different shape. That's all.
Yeah.
And so it's not just finding the funding, it's finding the business partners, it's finding folks who are willing to work with you and respect what you bring to the table and partner with you. All of those things are wrapped up in that. And so that has been an ongoing thing. And it really has been an evolution of my thinking. I started out being like, I must be crazy. Like, these people, nobody gets it. Like, it must be me. And then eventually getting to the place of, you crazy, you did know what you were talking about. You did understand how the market works. You do know these things. But now, how are you going to approach navigating that? And I've really looked at this as, this journey has been an opportunity for me to experience things that I didn't know were a challenge, particularly for women entrepreneurs. And it has given me platforms to talk about it, because I got some audacity up in my bones when it comes to this stuff. And I tell the stories, because oftentimes we feel like we can't tell the stories because we need to play the game. I lost my last game nerve about 5 years ago. That was my last nerve. So I come in and I say, these are the things that people are saying. This is how they're behaving. They're not holding to the standards that they're holding to other people. How do we make a difference with that?
So how do you keep yourself like motivated and focused when you're faced with these challenges?
It's that up and down. Some days I'm like, I got this, right? You get that shoulder shimmy. And there's other days that I'm like, okay, we're just going to cry about this today. But what I will say is the enduring thing over time for me, and it feels a little cheesy to say, and I always say this in all the grant applications and all that, but this really is true. Every single time I'm like, I don't think I need to just call it a day. I get a message from somebody, I get an email, I get a text. People find me on social, like me personally, not the brand. To tell me, I heard your podcast interview. I saw what you were doing. I saw you pitch. I came to your website and discovered this. I saw your ad. Thank you for seeing me. Thug tears, instantaneous thug tears. Because if the people aren't thanking me for making products, like, I mean, we're changing the game, not in terms of what it is, but who it's for. And that's key. She spends 9 times more than any other ethnicity on beauty and personal care. The travel industry, we're blowing up in the travel industry and we're not reflected. And so being able to allow people to be seen, I think is, money's good, but that's a payoff.
Yeah, that's interesting how when you're feeling down or you're like ready to give up, somebody just comes out of the woodwork to, like, I've had that experience too, where people just randomly say like, oh, I've been following your journey. I've been inspired by you. And I'm like, really?
Yes.
Really?
And you don't see it while you're in it. You don't see it
Right.
while you're in it. And I think, I personally think that's God's way of being like, come on,
Mm,
stop. Here, look, bounce you back over here. You trying to veer off. You're doing
right.
the thing that you need to be doing right now. It may not look the way you expected or what you wanted, or it may, but
Mhm.
that discouragement comes so many different ways. And so the encouragement has to come, I guess, as voluminously as well and show up in a number of ways to help keep you going.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So on this podcast, we spotlight introverted women. I'm curious if being introverted has affected your business, and if so, how?
Well, I'm sweating right now, if that makes you feel like honestly, so it's a skill to sort of uh differentiate the feeling of anxiety and those other things that come being introverted
Mm-hmm.
from what you need to show up and do. Like I really feel like I'm in my flow and I understand my business and I'm excited to talk about it and I love platforms, but also I'm gonna need a nap later. And
Right.
so I think, I learned actually pretty early in my career on the corporate side. I had a boss who I'm so glad he was my first boss out of graduate school, because he sat me down like my first day and we're just getting to know each other. And he says, look, people are going to want you to go to happy hour. They're going to have they're going to have karaoke nights. They're going to have this. They're going to have all of that. They're going to expect to see your face there. I
Mhm.
don't care. You can go, no big deal. You can not go, no big deal. Your time is your time. You came here to do a job. I respect that you come here and do your job, and I'm not going to try to monopolize your time. And so, and I was like, what? What? With that, and he meant it. And it really did give me the freedom. I did end up going out to things, but I never felt pressure like I had to. And
Mm.
so even in this space of entrepreneurship, I think people will give advice like you have to be seen and people have to know you and this, that, and the other. Yeah. And also, no, no,
Right.
no. I mean, I've run $500,000 or $500,000,000, not $1,000,000, $500,000,000 businesses. Nobody had no clue I was running them. Hell, my dad used to be like, "So you work for the mac and cheese people, right?" And I'm like, "No, I work at beverages." Like nobody cares. You can build businesses that do not necessarily have you plastered on everything. If you
Mm.
choose to be upfront, that can be helpful because that's trendy right now. Let's just be honest, it's trendy right now. People are really excited to hear who's behind the business. But you could also be very transparent and say, I don't really want to be out here with y'all like that. I just want you to enjoy the product. So you're gonna see me once in a blue moon. So I just, check in, life check. I'm here, but I'm gonna let the product and the work speak for itself.
Right.
And so for me, I have been straddling that. I think telling my story is important. Being up everybody's took us all day, all the
Right.
socials and all of that stuff isn't necessarily important for what we're trying to get done. And I just balance the two. And I don't force myself because it's, if I wear myself out, then I can't do the work behind the scenes to make the business work.
Mm.
So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I think that'll be really helpful to other introverted women who are listening. Orion, it has been such a great time chatting with you. Before we go, I wanted to give you an opportunity to just share where our listeners can find out more information about you or check out the Black Travel Box. And if you have anything coming up that you want us to look out for, feel free to share that as well.
yes, yes. So you can find us at Black Travel Box on all platforms. Instagram is our jam, but you can find us
Okay.
on all platforms at Black Travel Box. And you can also find us at www.blacktravelbox.com. If you want to find me and give me a holler, I'm Orion, Orion _ Helana, Helana, on pretty much every platform. Again, Instagram is my jam. I should be TikToking. I'm watching TikToks 2 weeks later on Instagram. It just is what it is. That's where we're at. We currently have an I Fund Women campaign going. We're actually about to wrap it up. However, I may extend it and just kind of leave it open. So you guys check us out. Definitely check our socials. You'll be able to find all of the information there. We are really excited because we're going to be going into hotels later this year. So, join our mailing list. Keep on the lookout. Tell your friends, and feel free to reach out.
Awesome. That's wonderful. We'll definitely check that out. Thank you so much for joining us, Orion.
Thank you for having me. This is so much fun.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you to our audience for listening. This has been another episode of the Building Her Dream podcast. If you've enjoyed it, why don't you go ahead and subscribe, leave us a review, and stay up to date with what we're doing by visiting www.buildingherdream.com.